The holiday of Shavuot has several names. In the Torah, it's called the Festival of Shavuot. But in the Talmud, it's referred to as Atzeret. Atzeret is a term that's not used in the Torah. In fact, it's used in the Torah for another holiday. The 8th day of Sukkot is Shmini Atzeret. It's the 8th day, and Atzeret means several things, but one of them is a day of withholding. We're not supposed to work on that day. It's a day of gathering. It's a day of celebration. That's the connotation of the word Atzeret. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Barditchev questions why the Talmud uses that name for Shavuot when the Torah doesn't use that name. And he gives three very beautiful explanations. First of all, he says that the holiday of Shavuot, unlike Pesach, Passover, unlike Sukkot, doesn't have any real rituals associated with it, no commandments. In Pesach, we eat matzah, and Sukkot, we eat in the sukkah. So why is it designated as a holiday? What mitzvah do we have? The only mitzvah we really have that's biblical is withholding from work, ceasing, desisting from work. And that's what the word Atzeret means, withholding. This is what characterizes this holiday. It's a holiday when we withhold from work. But then he gives another and deeper explanation. He says that why do we keep the holiday Shmini Atzeret? What's the significance of that holiday? And the Midrash tells us that throughout the holiday of Sukkot, God is celebrating with all the nations of the world. And it's like a king who throws a party for all his guests and for strangers, for everyone. Everyone is invited. In the king's magnanimity, he invites everyone. Then after everyone leaves and most of the food is eaten up and there are a few scraps left, he says to his closest friend, let's stay another day. Don't leave right away. Let's find some scraps and we'll celebrate another day. So in other words, when a celebration is over, you celebrate again to show that you don't want to leave. Throughout the entire period from Passover to Shavuot, we're counting the days. And when you finish counting, you reach a point where you're ready to leave. And at that point, you say, no, let's celebrate the fact that we just completed the counting. Just like when we complete the study of a volume of the Talmud, we make a seal, we make a special celebration, because we're trying to say, we don't want to leave you. We're going to keep you another day, another moment. So Atzeret means holding back. We're holding back our departure from these very special days. And then he gives a third explanation based on the words of Nachmanides. And it more or less puts the emphasis on how we could take inspiration and make it hold. Very often we become inspired and then it dissipates. After a while it wears off. How do we keep an inspiration? We keep inspiration by doing something practical. You feel inspired? Give tzedakah. You feel inspired? Say a prayer. You feel inspired? Learn some Torah. Do something, create a vessel that will contain the inspiration and therefore keep it going. Well, the Jewish people, when it came to Shavuot, didn't really have, they were inspired tremendously, but they didn't really have something to contain and keep the inspiration intact because there was no mitzvah associated with Shavuot itself. There was one mitzvah, however, in the preparation for Shavuot. That was that no one was allowed to go near the mountain. The mountain was off limits until after the Torah was given. That was their one mitzvah. That's why the holiday is called Atzeret, because it's about withholding, going close to the mountain. This is a very powerful lesson, all these different explanations. When we are coming close to the end of the period of exile and we're celebrating in advance that we are ready for this redemption, we have to take advantage of the inspiration that we have, that we know that we're close to the redemption, but translate it into action. Inspiration by itself is not sufficient. We have to translate it into action. And if the action is doing another mitzvah, that is how we contain the inspiration, and that will eventually lead us to the ultimate redemption.